This was one of the first songs I wrote when I moved back to India. And the more I heard it, like the more it didn't lift me up the way I wanted it to. I knew I wanted it to sound like 80s music. I wanted it to have that vibe for sure. And then it came out this way, and I was like, yeah, this is how it should sound. It shouldn't sound like that. Hi, I'm Rounak Maiti. I'm a singer-songwriter, and you're watching me on Radio City Freedom, Story of a Song.
Hi Rounak, thank you for being a part of Radio City Freedom.
No problem, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Right. So you recently released a single, Enlightened. Talk to us about the song. How did it come about?
Yeah, so this was one of the first songs I wrote when I moved back to India from the US. I was living there for 7 or 8 years. I moved back in late 2019. So it's one of the first songs I wrote when I came back. And I would say, generally, not that it's about anything specific as such, but it's a love song. It's a coming of age song, and it's about talking to somebody and feeling that they know you a bit better than you know yourself. Hence the kind of nod to like being enlightened as such. But it is about about youth, about memory, about the past. And just sort of like reckoning with the past and like thinking about the future, so kind of these broad themes of time and the passage of time and coming of age is what the song is kind of about. And from a compositional standpoint, I went into it wanting to make something that was very nostalgic, something that was a bit melancholy, something that harkened back to classic 80s music and early 90s rock music. Which is why I took the approach with a lot of big drum sounds and synthesizers and like these really like in your face guitar leads and stuff. So I had this clear idea about the vibe when I went in, and then that's how the song came out. Yeah.
So what took you so long to basically release this?
I think with every song that I do, there is like an incubation period that's sort of needed, like after it's made. I think immediately making it and then putting it out, doesn't give you any time to sit and like kind of reflect on it. And, of course, like, working with my label and everything, a lot of it was about, what is the right time to put this out and everything. But it gave time to like sit and like really like, kind of take the song in and see if there was anything I wanted to change. And there was actually an initial version of the song, which was the recording, but then I changed that. It was actually done in a different key altogether. It was a lower key and I was singing in a lower voice, and it was a bit moodier, a bit darker. It didn't have that kind of pop like punch to it. But then the more I heard that version, and I was sitting on that version for like a good like 6 to 8 months. And then the more I heard it, like the more it didn't lift me up the way I wanted it to. I felt that it needed a bit more energy. It needed a bit more of impact. And while the lower version was cool, it was definitely, it had a different vibe. I thought, I was like, let's do this in a higher register. I think that would work better. So I transposed the entire key and then redid the entire recording and made it faster also. So while it's not a very fast song, the original recording is actually even slower. And then it came out this way, and I was like, yeah, this is how it should sound. It shouldn't sound like that. So I think all of this, cumulatively, it all took a little bit of time, which is why, yeah.
Even if you look at your other earlier material, this is strikingly different.
Yeah.
In terms of sound, in terms of the complexity of the way the song has been structured.
Yeah.
Was it intentional? Is it something that you wanted to challenge yourself with?
Yeah, I mean, I think, because I have come into my own as a producer, also along with the fact that I've developed my craft of songwriting, I think it was a challenge that I wanted to take on of like more and more I want my recordings themselves, the arrangements to be more ambitious. I want them to sound bigger, I want them to sound bolder, and not just be like, because I can do the guitar, bass, drums, vocals thing. I know I can do that. But it's about pushing myself in a direction where it may be newer territory. I may have to do something, more innovative. So it was something that I took on. But again, like I mentioned before, when I first thought of the song, I had the vibe in my head. I knew I wanted it to sound like 80s music. I wanted it to have that vibe for sure. And then it was just a matter of going in and executing it. And I think like I have developed my skill to a point where I'm able to do that. Like I know how to program drums, I play drums also. I have access to everything in my house, so I just set out to do it that way, and I just kind of did it. And sure, there were challenges. There were a lot of things that I learned. There's a lot of things I learned with everything that I record. But yeah, I think yes, it was something that I wanted to do, and I set out to do it, and I tried to achieve it the best I could.
Right. So, although this has a very nostalgic vibe in terms of the sound, in terms of the lyrics, who's your audience? I mean, can you define your audience? Because obviously, at the end of the day, you make music for people to listen to you.
Sure, yeah. It's a hard question to answer. I mean, I wouldn't say I think of a particular demographic as such. But I mean, really, I make music for myself. I make it for the people I love. I make it for my friends. I make it for my family. Because they are the ones who have impacted me the most. And really, even though the lyrics don't seem like it, evidently, it is about the people in my life. It's about my relationships to them. So I owe everything to the people around me. So in a way, I'm doing it for them. I'm not doing it for anyone. But the thing is, I'm not looking for a particular audience. I feel like it's not like I've amassed some, hordes of fans or anything, but I feel like along the way I've managed to connect with very different kinds of people through music, which is it's a really like heartening feeling, whether that's like a young person who's like in college, or like a much older person who's, has only heard like older music or like classical music, and they've liked something about it. I feel like if you can connect with people like that, like across the board, across the table, that's doing something. Like if you play the gig and at the venue, and the bartender or the security guy comes up to you and he's like, I really enjoyed that, I feel like that tells me more than like like just somebody in the crowd telling me that. Because then I know that, like, okay, I feel like there's something that I'm doing that might be a little bit different. Maybe it's not just like I'm appealing to a scene or a certain demographic, right? I'm trying to just appeal to people. Like if you can hear it and you feel moved by it in any way, then I feel like I've done my job.
Right. Yeah. This song came with a very, very well made music video.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the video.
Yeah, so the video, it's music video is a form and a thing that I've only kind of gotten into of late. It's not, I've only made like 2 music videos. This is my second music video. And I directed this video also with Surbhi Chaudhary, who was the co-director of the music video. And, in these situations, because I'm not such a visual person, in terms of at least images, and I've never like been one to like draw and take photos and stuff, but I've always liked film. I've been drawn to like moving images for sure. I think with music videos, they are inherently very collaborative. I identify people that I want to work with, who are more often than not friends. So in this case, with Surbhi, I showed her the song, and I was like, I want this to have visuals, and we kind of collaboratively came up with something together. And I owe a lot of it to her. I mean, she really pushed forward a lot of the ideas about it being centered around one protagonist who should be a woman, and it should be about her relationship to another person, not in a romantic way, but in a vague way, in a platonic but in an ambiguous way, where you can't tell what the relationship is to this other person. And initially I had the idea of doing it like random people, just like some friends. But she was the one who pushed it for it to be my sister and me, because I think she identified that there were themes of family and distances in the song. So why not just get my sister on board? And then we collaboratively came up with a lot of the ideas. The entire video is shot in the house that we grew up in together. It's shot in the neighborhood that we grew up in Navi Mumbai. It's like just those streets, and those evoke a lot of memories for us as children. Our relationship itself, my sister and I, has been fraught because we haven't lived in the same place for more than 10 years. She's had her own life, I've had my own life, but we've stayed connected through it somehow. So, a lot of it just became about our relationship in a way as siblings, which I thought was, really beautiful, and it tied into the song in a really nice way. But again, as far as crafting the narrative, I think a lot of it was aesthetically is what I thought is that I wanted it to be at night. I wanted it to have a lot of car headlights. I wanted to have, you know, like flashing neon lights, street lights. I wanted artificial light, dark, nighttime Bombay. So my mind is like, you know, I think in sort of this way that like aesthetically, I know it needs to look like this. And then, you know, Surbi and the DOP, Jayant, both of them together kind of crafted the narrative of like, you know, how is this gonna move, you know. Also Rajdeep, who was the AD, they kind of helped craft it as a narrative. And then Rana Ghosh, who edited the video, he really brought everything together with his very kind of like interesting, like he has a very intriguing style as far as editing. It's very choppy, it's a bit unconventional. And Himanshu at Bridge Postworks gave it a really nice dash of color. He color corrected and graded the whole thing. So really, it was a collaborative effort. Like I would be remiss to not say that, you know, it's thanks to all these other people that it became what it is. So you know, I enjoy these music videos because they're true collaborative efforts. It's a true team. It's true teamwork that goes behind it, and I'm lucky to have people like this as friends who can you know, help me bring these visions and these ideas to life.
Great. So if we just talk about your personal journey as a musician, with every material that you actually put out, it has been different from the previous one.
Yeah.
If we look at your last album, to Enlightened, how do you think you have changed as a musician?
So yeah, I think you know, the biggest evolution really is for me as a producer. I think like songwriting is something that I'm now identifying I want to spend a bit more time on. I think, but you know, I don't write very complex songs. I'm not one for, you know, I'm not one for technicals. I'm not a big theory person. Even though I have trained for a few years in classical music, I don't ever really refer to theory as such. It's all just based on feeling and intuition, right? Even Enlightened, like from a musical standpoint, it's not a very complex song. It's verse, chorus, right? Like it's a pop song. Like I'm a pop music person. I like memorable melodies. I like choruses. I like things that stick in your mind, like melodically, you know. And that's what I keep going back to. But production is really where I feel like I've come into my own. Because with my last album, with Waiting on the Come Down, I think it was the first attempt at trying to like produce something that was a bit more ambitious than just guitar, bass, vocals, and drums. It was like, okay, I'm gonna do keyboards, I'm gonna do some sound design, I'm gonna do effects, I'm gonna do noise, I'm going to try and like push myself a little bit. And after that album came out, I think because, you know, COVID happened shortly after that, I just had a lot of time at home, you know, to just really like dive into my process, like really understand like what it means to record music, like as a recording engineer, as a record producer. And I was lucky enough to be living at home, and then I invested a bit of money into buying some recording gear, getting a drum set, setting it all up, and then that's how I've recorded all of this new music that's coming out now. It's all recorded at home, and even Enlightened is fully done at home, no studio involved at all. So it's really like, you know, just spending time on my own in the studio, just recording ideas, trashing them, and just getting a sense of like what it's like to be my own engineer, like you know, approach it from that perspective. That, you know, how am I going to actually construct this song? You know, and with Enlightened, I felt that I was very intentional in how I produced it, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. You know, and I think with everything in the future now, I will try to be similarly intentional in how I produce them, more so than how I write them, in a way.
So what can we expect from you in the coming months?
So I have recorded a lot of music in the last 2 years, because that's kind of all I did at home. And now I think, you know, over time I'll just be slowly releasing things. I think people can expect, you know, moving around between genres a lot, for sure. I have experimented a lot in the last 2 years. I want to push myself. I want to push my audiences also a little bit. You know, not everything is going to be as poppy as Enlightened, but similarly, some things will be even poppier than Enlightened. You know, who knows really? Like, it's whatever comes out will come out. But yeah, I hope to release, you know, a lot more music this year. A lot of music also that I've made collaboratively for the first time. I've included a bit more people in my process, so people will hear more of that. And yeah, that, and then live dates as well. Hopefully, more shows, just a little more of everything. Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you, Ronak.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.